Hey, what's up? Good morning, everybody. Welcome in. And yeah, wow, is the tech community so soft nowadays? Um, Glad to have you guys in here. B Tech, what's up, man? Brandon, welcome in. Glad to have you guys here. Um, Whoa, was I ever caught off guard with responses? People to send emails to Tim Cook expressing their anger and the fact that he gifted President Trump a Corning Gorilla Glass with some etching on it with a 24 karat gold base. And this is amid a $600 billion commitment to the US that Apple's making, apparently. And a lot of people are just mad at the fact that he gifted President Trump I mean, it's not even like that grand of a thing, you know what I mean? Like the base is 24 karat gold. The glass in itself it just has President Donald Trump's name at the top. If I was to describe it, I mean, you can literally go and like search on Google and see the images for yourself. And why would Apple do something like this? That's one of the things that I'm seeing kind of just like tossed around quite a bit. And obviously, there is a deal in place, for Apple. There's going to be a deal in place. There's going to be things that they're going to be able to do that they couldn't get done otherwise without, government approval. I could already see like the dynamics of the relations between Tim Cook and President Donald Trump. And, like people do things and other people kind of get very aggravated about it or whatnot. Maybe they don't like it, but I don't know. Like, when has it become a thing where everything has to be vocalized? Like, Tim Cook has a kind of like an open door policy where customers could email him their thoughts about Apple products, about the iPhone, iPad, and the Mac computers and stuff like that. And people have really utilized it to express frustrations on just what he's done. So the news clipping that I'm reading here, just to kind of give you guys a little synopsis, it says, while U.S. President Donald Trump contributes to threaten tariffs, Apple CEO Tim Cook reaffirmed the company's America First strategy by announcing a $100 billion new investment in U.S. manufacturing. This boost brings Apple's total U.S. investment to $600 billion over the next 4 years. During their Oval Office meeting on August 6th, Cook also presented Trump with a specifically crafted glass and a gold plaque made in the USA. The internet is calling Cook's declaration a bend the knee to Trump as he tries to avoid the president's tariffs on imports that would raise the cost of Apple electronics. So, more of the whole tariffs things, right? More of the whole tariffs things. I don't know if people know exactly how tariffs work. The fact of bringing manufacturing of Apple products back to the US, if that's, the whole strategy here, obviously tariffs wouldn't really play an effect on that whatsoever because, the only thing that would be in effect is where they get the parts from, right? If the parts have to be imported in, obviously, Apple is going to be paying a high amount of I guess you could quote unquote layman's term import taxes, right, to get those parts in to build the iPhone. When you look at how the tariffs has been, right, what other countries have charged the United States for importing US goods into their country, it's astonishing. Like, don't get into your feelings and start crying if you dislike the president. I mean, no one's telling you have to like the president. You can hate the president if you want to. That's your choice. That's the way that I see it. I think people are free to decide for themselves what they like and what they dislike. That same energy that I tell people about smartphones is the same energy that I tell them about other aspects of their life and things that they find, that they like or dislike. But if you actually with a clear mind, do research, you'll find out we've been paying more in tariffs for importing US goods into other countries. We've been paying the other countries like a high percentage. versus what we've been charging them to import their goods into the US. And so the president is working on basically getting that changed up, because why are we paying out so much money? Why are these countries able to take so much money from us, just to import our goods into their country to be sold? I've been seeing like videos that kind of just talk about that whole political stuff, and I'm not very much a political guy that likes to talk politics. But when you got people that's talking about they're not getting, like, for instance, I think, where was it? It was in South Korea, or it was South Korea or China, one of the two, where a woman was just like, they're not getting American beef anymore because of the tariffs, so it's China, because they were talking about, China is smart about things, and because they're not getting, American beef like steak and stuff like that they've resorted to importing meat from Australia. And so she was like, she's happy to go home and try Australian beef for the first time. Okay. First of all, don't even joke or make cracks about this woman talking about trying Australian beef. It's not that type of thing. I know some people might poke at it. It's like, whatever. You know what I mean? So yeah, the inflation has sucked because of the tariffs. Well, I mean, we can ask the president to not make any changes where then, we're paying like 100 to 150% in tariffs to other countries, and they're only paying to us like 10, 18% or whatever. Like, when you look at how much money is going out to import US goods into other countries, we pay a high amount. And for other countries to import their goods into the US for us, to buy here, it's less, right? It's less that they pay. So more money going out, less money coming in. That doesn't make sense, right? It's like with any business out there, right? Like you're not going to go and spend, $500 a day to get, supplies for your business. And then, so you spend out a lot of money to get these supplies so you can have your business running. And then, people are only paying you $1 for your services, right? Less money coming in means you can't go and re-up on products and goods to be able to continue your business going. That's the way that I look at it when it comes to these whole tariffs things. Some people get the tariffs confused, like as if it's some sort of, tax that American citizens pay per se. Like, it's something that, they have to pay or whatever. Now, companies do kind of pass down any type of expenses. This has been a age-old thing. It's not anything brand new. If costs go up for Walmart, right, then your costs to buy stuff at Walmart goes up. It's always been that. And here's the other thing that people kind of forget too, because there's been a wave of shoplifting. That is something that I see a lot of. There's people just getting busted because everything costs so much, so they're just gonna steal it. Well, you don't realize this, but when you steal goods from any type of chain, right? Walmart, Target, any of those, right? Those losses that those companies have to write off, because they do write them off. There is an insurance that they file a claim on for stolen goods, right? But what they initially do is they pass those costs on to customers. So if a lot of people are stealing, they say, for example, a lot of people are stealing Arizona green teas, right? They're stealing them by the cases or stealing them by the bulk. Well, Arizona green teas is going to go up in price in Walmart. It's going to go up in price because, technically Walmart's not going to eat that cost, even though it's getting written off through their insurance for, the product being stolen. They're still not going to take that loss. So customers take that loss. So, with all these things going on, I don't want to dive too deep into the rabbit hole. I already feel it coming. So I'm just like backing off. But, with all that stuff going on, people have their thoughts and their opinions. I'm not out here to change people's opinions. And I'll forewarn people, don't try to change my opinions on things, because I am just talking about this whole scenario. This is not like how I feel about politics, okay? I don't talk politics. I don't care what other people's political views are. And you know what? I have my own political views, and the world doesn't need to hear what I think about on things, because it's just my point of view. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't make the world better or worse if I think a certain way or whatever, whatnot. I think people really got to kind of exercise that restraint these days. They got to understand that not everything you think has to be vocalized and said. Sometimes you can keep shit to yourself and just go about your day. I think the world would be more peaceful and less stressful if people would just stop worrying about politics all too much and just focused on their day-to-day lives. I know someone will probably be like, well, politics affects the way that I live. It affects my rent and everything like that. Like, yeah, also remember you have state governments. And if people don't know, state governments actually have more power in in the state that you live in than the federal government. Okay, this is why the federal government fights so hard to try to take all these different laws and things like that. Is because they're trying to take percentage of power away from governors who govern their own states. So if you really think about it, if you're to look at on this hierarchy level, it's the state governor and the state government over federal government, not the other way around. A lot of people have this idea. They think that federal government just is end all be all control all, and it's not even that. I mean, why do you think Governor DeSantis from Florida was able to do the things that he did without repercussions that would bear down his state? The federal government doesn't have that much power over every state. All 50 states are not. It's not like the federal government has 60% power over 50 states, and then the states govern themselves under that 40% leftover of power. No, it's not like that. So I mean, do your research. This is what I tell people. But anyways, going back to the whole text-based thing, this is just really interesting on just how society today has become to be that, how do I want to put it? I want to put it delicately, because I feel like that this would just like burn people the wrong way. But, people are very sensitive if they dislike the current president and Tim Cook strikes a deal with him. And it's like all of a sudden Tim Cook is bad man. Bad man Tim. I mean, look at the news that's just following this. I mean, the best thing that people, that the news can come up with is like, oh, the president calls Tim Apple. So what? The president calls him Tim Apple. How many times did former President Biden say a bunch of bumbling stuff that was just idiotic? Have we forgotten that? You know what I mean? It's like, it's the pot calling the kettle black. Like, come on now. You're going to criticize one guy because he called him Tim Apple. And then we had former President Biden who just said some of the most weirdest things and even called himself, he called himself Dr. Joe Biden at one time. I don't know. It's like, I don't know, people pick and choose what they want to bash, only because they just want the narrative to fit their idea and their thoughts. But he called him Tim Apple. Like, who is Tim Cook? Apple CEO. So now I could understand if he called him Tim Android. Oh man, should we have like, an entire field day with that one? But he called him Tim Apple. Not a big deal. So Tim Cook explained that, the gift was designed by a former Marine, Corps corporal who now works at Apple. The one-of-a-kind U.S.-made glass piece was inscribed with President Donald Trump, Apple American Manufacturing Program, Tim Cook's signature, made in USA 2025. So that's what the plaque says. And it's got a 24-karat gold base that the glass, sits on. So, it goes on to say that promising continued investments and job creations in the U.S., Cook praised Trump as a great advocate for American innovations and manufacturing. According to Apple's latest press release, Cook announced that the company will increase its investments in the U.S. to $600 billion over 4 years and launched a new American manufacturing program. This release continued. This includes new and expanded work with 10 companies across America. They produce components that are used in Apple products sold all over the world, and we're grateful to the president for his support, says Tim Cook. Now, if everything was manufactured in the United States, right? If all the parts for the iPhone, for the iPad, for the Macs were manufactured in the United States, guess how much you guys are going to see an increase in the value of those products, right? Everyone's so worried about tariffs. How much do you think the prices are going to go up? That's some really good tea. I can tell you guys right now that if everything of the iPhone that's built is manufactured in the US. Nothing is imported in to build the iPhone. I guarantee you guys, prices of the iPhones would not go up. You would not see an increase on the iPhones. You will not see it. And the reason why is because tariffs is what the US pays to import things in. Vice versa, tariffs is what a country pays to, is what a country pays to have their stuff imported in, right? So obviously the only part really that would like really just even make mention of a price increase is what Apple has to pay to, like, say, to China, for China to allow iPhones to be imported into their country for people to buy. Of course, China is going to tax heavy on that, and and make the US pay out the wazoo. And of course, the same with India, same with other places in the market, right? So it's not as easy and clear cut dry as like, oh yeah, we'll just sell only in America, because then basically, Apple would lose a huge part of the market. That's what it's all about when it comes to selling these phones. It's literally just like getting a piece of the market, obviously making money. Companies are interested in making money. That's nothing new. I always get surprised when people find it new to them, like, oh my God, these companies are so evil. They're out there to make money. Like, what did you expect? What were you thinking? You were thinking they were just doing it for fun? You think they're just doing it because they wanted to be your friend? Like, that's more important to Apple, you being their friend. Like, no, they're out to make money. They definitely are. So regardless of how you feel about the government, current president, tariffs, all that jargon, that really, I just feel like it's a distraction to take your mind off, focusing on you and making your life better. The fact that, they had this meeting, the fact that they had this discussion, the fact that, they gave him a plaque and everything like that, I don't feel like that's a good enough reason for people to stop buying iPhones and all this other stuff. It's like, I don't know what it is where people feel the need to control everything. People want today, they want to control what type of phone you buy. I mean, this is, the attitude is not brand new. It didn't just happen overnight. Over 10 years that I've been doing this on YouTube, I've been seeing people build up the bravery to tell you what type of smartphone you should buy, what type of earbuds you should buy, what type of camera you should buy, how you should do your videos, how you should podcast, how you should speak, what you should look like, what you should wear. People today have this bravery in them that they think they can just tell the world how they're supposed to live, like one size fits all. If it was that easy, everybody in the country, everybody all around the world would be successful off of one person's ideas. But it's not that way. Everybody lives and walks a different path. Nobody walks an identical path. There's people that walk a very similar path, but there's never been two people that have walked an identical path in life, because everybody as an individual is absolutely different. The way we think, how we process information, how we convey that. I mean, I read this really cool article the other day, and it was from a medical doctor who put out a report, and I believe he was from Harvard, or he attended Harvard or whatever. Anyways, he said that, because of social media, because of smartphones, over the past decade, a lot of humans have lost the ability to connect their thinking to their vocalization, right? Like, there's like this small little wall we've built in our heads, because everything is done through social media, through chat, through text, that we have lost our ability to fully articulate our thoughts into spoken words. And a lot of people are suffering that, which is why, he says that there are people who react, they react so harshly towards other people, because someone who's thinking about something and trying to vocalize it and can't get the right words out to really kind of express what their thoughts are, the other person perceives it in a wrong way and then just reacts based on their perception of things, which already, understanding of speech has plummeted in the United States. I can say something and 10 or 15 people are going to have different thoughts of how they perceived my spoken words. Some would say it's good, some would say it's bad, some would say it's hostile, some would say it's lame, some would say it's exciting. So we are literally in a small way kind of losing our ability to communicate with one another. Excuse me. We are losing the ability to communicate with one another. We don't realize it. It's a gradual decline in our ability to communicate with one another and how to express our feelings to one another. It's like the boiling water and the frog, right? This is how like most people don't even know that we're losing this ability to communicate. It's like putting a frog in a pot of water on the stove and turning on that stove and gradually heating it up slowly, right? The frog's not going to immediately jump out. It's going to take time before that water boils. Versus if you boil water and you get it to a boiling point and then you throw the frog in the water, he hits the water, he's going to, with all his might, jump out because the water's too hot. So yes, people could be like, I don't have any problems communicating with my wife, or I don't have any problems communicating with my friends or my family or my boss, my employees. Yet technically we are losing that ability. It's really cool. If I find it again, I will post it in the community feed here on the channel. So if you guys are interested in wanting to read, this person's findings and research, it's definitely worth checking it out. I didn't even realize it until I read it, and I was like, at first I was a little skeptical about it. I was like, oh, like is this like a whole paper written on the terms of not knowing what today's lingo is and slang words and stuff like that? But like, no, after reading it 5 pages in, and I was like, holy Jeebus, like those are some excellent points. And I started to kind of think about like interactions that I've had with people close to me and business and stuff like that. And I'm like, wait a minute, yeah, I do find it stressful today having to talk to someone and trying to describe what it is that I am discussing. And then because it happens all the time, right? Like think about it, it happens when you call into customer care and you talk to a phone company, right? And you're trying to convey an issue that you have. You're trying to convey a problem you want resolved. And so you talk to them, you tell them, you describe everything that's going on, right? And haven't you ever noticed that sometimes when you describe what you think is in detail, and then they come back and they've totally missed the mark on what the issue was. They've literally, made mention of something else. They've made mention of like, something similar to the problem, but not exactly the problem in itself, right? And that is literally, failure to communicate. That's the breakdown in connecting your thoughts to your spoken words and being able to vocalize that for where people can understand. So this is the problem that we have today as a society. We have a hard time kind of like vocalizing things. We have a hard time kind of like sharing things and understanding things, So when I sit here and I say that, the things that goes on in politics, the things that goes on that you see on the news. First of all, if it's on the news, if it's on like mainstream media news, I wouldn't even pay attention to it because their goal is not to report truths anymore. There has not been one news publication that's mainstream that reports truth. They're more of reporting things that will get you riled up, that will get you in your emotions, and literally distract you from other things that's important that you should know about and should be taking an interest in, just to basically make your way of life better. Media news, mainstream media news, is set to be a distraction. That's a cold reality of things. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen like how bad things get. Like for me, like put it this way, right? Like right now, if this live stream circulates more than my usual podcast does, because of like the headlines, right? Considering that it mentions Donald Trump and it mentions Tim Cook and stuff. Say it gets like 10,000 views. I swear to God, there's going to be like maybe 25 to 50 people that's going to make a big deal that I'm holding a vape mod. As a matter of fact, when I dropped that video after I went jogging, I was reading and listen to a podcast. It was kind of like reading when I was like doing my like you cool down, like my cool down session after jogging. And I was like, oh, you know, um, John Prosser, is in a line of fire from Apple for leaking stuff or whatever, right? So I read the article about it. I was like, oh, let me make a video letting people know. And I kid you guys not, I got hate on that video. I got a good amount of hate. And it wasn't because of like what I was reporting, if I had made an error in what I was reporting on. It was nothing like that. It was like several people that made a complaint, and they were like, because I was holding a vape mod. And they're like one guy even just straight up told me, he was like, you know what, like this affects me wanting to subscribe to your channel because first impressions is everything, and yada yada yada. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, you know what, I mean, that's fine. You don't have to subscribe, and you never have to come back to my channel again. And other people just go weigh in on it, just try to be hurtful, disrespectful, and just trying to get a rise out of me. And it's like you don't even know somebody, and you're already passing judgments and then fabricating your own perception of me as truth when you don't even know me, right? And I'm like, if they knew my backstory, if they knew things, which I'm not going to put out my backstory, they don't need to know. But it's just crazy as hell on this, that was the most important thing taken from the video was, oh my God, he has a vape mod in his hand. Not what I was talking about. Not like, oh, well, what does this do to John Prosser? It hasn't, and it was the craziest thing, right? And for those who are itching to know why I even vape, let me tell you guys, I'm part of a generation that, was idiotic and stupid and thought it was cool to smoke at a young age. I started smoking cigarettes at 11 years old. I was 11 years old when I took my first drag off a cigarette, and I was about 12 years old when I realized that I was superly addicted to cigarettes. And I had smoked basically from when I was 11 years old up until I was 34, 35 years old. That's a long time. And I switched to vaping because it was more cleaner than it is, smoking a cigarette. Like, vaping doesn't have secondhand smoke effects the way that cigarettes does. Okay? I smoke around my kids and my wife. They're catching secondhand smoke that's detrimental to them. I vape, and it doesn't, because there's only these things in the e-juice, if people want to know. That's the flavor base, the nicotine, propylene glycol, and vegetable glycerin. Now, if you want to know what propylene glycol and vegetable glycerin is, go look at a tube of toothpaste. Go look at some ingredients in your food pantry. They're found in everyday food products. Okay. The only reason why the law was able to put on where you had to be 18 to buy vape products, and in some states you have to be 21, it goes by state. This is my point, that states govern themselves more than federal government governs them. So each state decides whether you're going to be able to buy it at 18 or at 21. And the reason why is because it has nicotine in it, right? It has nicotine in it. So it's considered a tobacco product when it's not even really tobacco at all. There is no tobacco in it. It's just nicotine. But it is a cleaner option. And I'm not going to tell anyone it's a healthier option. I'm just saying it's a cleaner option than smoking cigarettes. Like, if I went back to smoking cigarettes like how I was before I started vaping, I was a 2-pack a day smoker. I would smoke. Look, put it this way. It was so bad of that disgusting habit that I would buy like a pound of shredded tobacco and rolling papers and a cigarette roller. And I was rolling, maybe 50 cigarettes a day, 50, 60 cigarettes a day. On days that my friend Alex would come over and we would hang out and drink, man, it was like a chimney. It was no good at all whatsoever. So, I'm just being honest with people about that. So yeah, the fact that people pointed out the vape mod was a turn off for them, and they just gave me so much hate for it. And me, I'm a person that, I can live my life in solitude, right? Like, if it was all taken away from me, social media was taken away from me, I would be just fine. My kids would be mad because everything that I make, like from this and from, Instagram and from Facebook, like all that monetization earnings I make goes to them. I give it to them. So if I lost all this, it would hurt them more than it would hurt me. Because I would always just find a way to be able to talk tech with anybody. Go out on the street and start talking to people at the bus stop in front of the complex that I live at. I appreciate smash the like button, subscribe. I appreciate that. Let me get to some of these comments over here. I was 8 when Hold on, I don't even have my glass. Oh man, I left my glasses in the car. Okay, hold on. Let me just squint my eyes here. I was 8 when I started. I just quit smoking cigarettes 2 weeks ago. I feel so much better, and I vape now. Different flavors are my favorite. Yeah. So for me, I like more of like the crazy fruit flavors. But if it contains blueberry, I really like that. So a lot of the flavors that I vape from my local vape shop here called Red Star, a lot of the ones that I pick have like blueberry in it. Like there's one called Lemon Berry Squeeze, which is like a mixture of blueberry, lemon, and I forgot what the other flavor is. But there's that one. There's OG Steve, which is like a blueberry custard. There's Sweetwater. Yeah, I gotta look up the site on like what the all the fruit flavor profiles for those are. But then they have some candy ones too, some cereal flavors like Dino Bites, which is obviously based off Fruity Pebbles and whatnot. Anyways, but yeah, congratulations on that, man, because that's a cigarettes is a very hard habit to kick. It's very hard. I know someone who's trying till today, a friend of mine who's trying to quit smoking. They've tried to rely on vaping to switch up, and like they vape throughout the day, and then I see in their pocket, you can see the outlining of a pack of cigarettes, and I'm like, oh, you still smoking cigarettes? So they've conditioned themselves to do both. They vape and they smoke cigarettes, and it's like, no, you gotta like drop the cigarettes. It's hard, but you know what's crazy though? Now, when I go to a place and there's someone smoking a cigarette, now I know what it smells like from a non-smoker's perspective. Why they were non-smokers, I was like, oh my god, they would tell me all the time, like at my old jobs on breaks, they would be like, oh yeah, cigarette smokes is a disgusting habit. It smells, it stinks. And I'll be like, what are you talking about? Like now I can. Now when I smell someone who smokes cigarettes, it's like, oh my God, you really can get the scent. You can smell it on them. I was like, holy crap. So wait till that hits you, Brandon. Man, that is going to be crazy once you really can pick up on the cigarette smell off someone who smokes cigarettes. I started catching that scent 6 months. 6 months into my that I've been cigarette free. That's when it really started to hit me. My smell, my taste, and like my taste came back. So like certain foods, like I'm like, oh my God, like this is really good. And it's just so crazy. You just figure out like how bad cigarettes are and how much they've taken from you. So just imagine throughout, I started at 11. So at 11 years old, all those years, things that I was eating and the taste of those foods and beverages that I was, eating and drinking was heavily compromised by a bad habit I was doing. But the craziest thing. So, like I said, a lot of people gave me shit for vaping and having a mod in my hand. I vape on my live stream. Someone's probably going to say some shit. I really don't care. I know first impressions are everything. I agree with that. But I'm also a good believer in that if I don't fit what you feel is, good, what you like, then you don't have to, watch. You don't have to subscribe. There are tons and tons of creators in the market that you can subscribe to that will fit, what you want out of it. But I do know that some people just like to just mess with people because they have nothing better to do in life. That's what social media has become. It initially was supposed to be where people were able to communicate and stay in touch with friends that they grew up with who have moved in various places across the world. They can still, be caught up with day-to-day lives of their friends. And it has turned from that into, I don't feel good about myself, so I'm just going to find somebody and try to ruin their day. And I'm going to talk shit about them and, I'm going to attack them. I don't even know them. And this is also why people today don't have good, relationships. They don't get along very much, is because of all these things that's been done online on social media, some of the worst things that's happened. And so people's perceptions of one another has become a vision of someone being so volatile that people just don't want to get to know people anymore. Do you know how strange some people feel when like I walk past them and I just decided to smile and say hi? If I'm polite and I open the door for a lady going in the gas station after I've paid, to pump my gas, I'll see a lady coming up. She could be halfway across the parking lot and I will hold the door open and she starts to run and I'll tell her like, don't run. Take your time. Take your time. It's good. I got it. Doors open for you. Go on in. Chivalry. type things, right? And it's only because I was taught to be respectful. I see somebody that's, maybe sitting down, looks a little gloom, I'll wave hi and say hi to them. They wave hi back and smile. Hey, that's good. If they just stare at me like I'm stupid, oh, well, that it's at least, when they go home, it'll hit them later on in the day. Like, hey, some weird person that I don't know just said hi to me for no reason. Yeah, if people haven't realized it, we're slowly being conditioned to hate one another and to be divided, not only by groups, but also as individuals, to kind of just like, why does all this that I'm talking about, this jargon I'm spewing out, relate to this whole situation? Well, this is our behavior basically has to be analyzed in order to understand why people feel like they're going to boycott Apple. And as a matter of fact, I'm just going to call it like it is. Like, more than half the people that's like, I'm not using Apple because Tim is friends with Donald Trump, I guarantee they're not going to boycott Apple. They're not going to stop buying an iPhone. Okay, especially if they've been invested in iPhone since the first iPhone released in 2007. They ain't going nowhere. Their Mac computers, their MacBooks, their iPads, you gotta remember, right? Like, a lot of people's excuses about all this was like, oh my God, it's so hard to leave Apple because I'm in their ecosystem. Oh yeah? Are you about to make yourselves liars? Are you really about to make yourselves liars? Are you really gonna go and say, I'm done with Apple? You're gonna sell everything of yours and get off Apple? See, a lot of people tend to write a check that their ass can't cash. All these years, you would go into social media, these little conversations, and people would be like, I can't leave Apple. I'm too invested. I bought a new Mac for like $2,500. I got a MacBook for, $1,100. I got the latest iPhone 16 Pro Max for $1,200, and new AirPods, new Apple Watch. It's like, all my music is on Apple Music. I can't take all my paid music anywhere else because they don't offer that, right? You can port your number to a new provider. You can't port your Apple Music to, YouTube Music. It's just ain't happening. So for years, I was always talking about that when people would be like, why don't you guys give Android a chance? That's always been an excuse, right? Now we're going to see that put to the test. Now we're going to know, were you just blowing smoke up everyone's ass because truthfully, you just love Apple so much, but you're afraid to say it? Or were you blowing smoke up people's asses and lying about it? But honestly, personally, I don't think anyone's going to leave. As a matter of fact, if you guys followed Chris Perillo on Threads, or probably even on X, even he said it. People are getting in their feelings about, the Tim Cook and the Apple thing with, Donald Trump, that people are talking about boycotting. And he's like, he was making fun of it. He was like, let the people that's going to talk about this on social media and say that they're done with Apple, let all that jargon spew commence. And he was like doing a countdown in 3, 2, 1, because he already knew people were going to take to social media and I hate Apple, fuck Apple and all this other stuff, and to everybody, right? Because that's what social media has become. I used to tell a lot of my friends, right, like, when it comes into the world of dating, finding someone to date and eventually become serious with, settle down with, and eventually marry, I would always tell my friends, like, when you meet somebody, you're not actually meeting them, you're meeting their representative. You're meeting what they want you to perceive them as, right? Because everybody always puts their best foot forward. Nobody, gets a date with a person they met and they're so attracted to that they're going to come out wearing basketball shorts that are stained with like a little wife beater, tank top that has like food stains on it, scruffy or anything like that. Nobody's going to do that. Right, they're gonna get a fresh cut, right? They're gonna get their hair designed so so it looks really good. They're gonna, probably, trim and line their beard, or probably even just shave their beard. If it's a guy, if it's a girl, she's gonna get her eyebrows done and lined and shaved. She's gonna get, fake lashes put on so she could bat her eyes and cast you under her spell. Everybody puts their their representative forward. No one ever puts their true self forward. And that's what social media has become for a lot of people. In real life, they know they're not going to give away their iPhone. They're not going to throw all their Apple products in the trash, but they're going to say it on social media because it sounds good. It sounds like they're fighting for the cause. And so, yeah, social media has become their representative. I always tell this to people. They're like, yeah, I met somebody on this social platform and we've been chatting for the last 2 weeks and she's very cool. And, she's into this, and that. And I'm like, yo, until you've met her in person, until you've hung out with her on a day-to-day basis, you really don't know shit. Because I literally could create a new account on X or a new account on Threads, grab photos from the internet, create this identity of a person that I want to be, make myself a millionaire and all this other stuff, and go on social media and basically catfish people. You could do that, because you're creating your own identity on social media. I think that's what gets people hooked on social media, is the fact that they could be who they want to be. It's an escape from reality, right? Like, for instance, I'll use myself, for example. In reality, I am poor. I am very poor in reality. Everything that comes across me is always a blessing to me, because technically I don't really have the means for it. You know what I mean? Made bad choices in life, didn't, listen to the people that I should have listened to. And I bite the bullet every day. I struggle, I fight, I claw. Sometimes, I'll be honest, sometimes, I'm like so drowned in debt that it's like hard to come out of it. And, maybe some people's perceptions of me is completely different based upon social media posts. Do you see what I mean? We all create this identity for ourselves on social media. We all pretend that we're something that we wish to be. Not knocking anybody for doing that, because it's an escape from reality. Like when I come on YouTube, I'm a podcaster, I'm a content creator, I'm a guy that likes tech, and I let who I am shown to you guys, but not everything. Just a side of me that's superly interested in mobile technology, Pixel smartphones, iPhones, Samsung Galaxies, retro games and stuff like that. I let that shine through, but I don't let the rest of who I am come out. I don't let my money troubles come out. I don't let my, my diabetes be like the center thing that I talk about with everybody. Every now and then some people can trigger me to just open up, right? B-Tech is one of them. B-Tech, just from the friendship that he and I had over the years of being content creators on YouTube and whatnot, I've become so comfortable talking with B-Tech, over video call, over Google Chat, over everything, that when he talks to me, like if I'm like a guest on his channel, on his live stream, and we're talking, he just hits a certain area that just has me open up, like, like the Hoover Dam, letting some of the water out of Lake Mead. So I just flood out with, things that goes on, right? And that's where people catch a little bit of who I am. But there's a lot of me that people don't know. And of course, that's the way it's supposed to be, right? Like, you don't put your deep personal stuff out online, because you just never know who's watching, who's listening, and how they can hurt you. You know what I mean? So yeah. Anyways, I'm just going to say this to everybody. One, it's okay to still use an Apple product, even though you don't like the partnership with Tim Cook and President Trump. You don't have to like their partnership to still like an iPhone. Just because you like an iPhone doesn't make you part of their political group, or, part of Trump's team or anything like that. People got to stop with this gang mentality, group mentality type thing. Like, oh yeah, you buy an iPhone, then you're part of the MAGA movement and stuff like that. Like, no, you're not. You buy an iPhone because you like the iPhone. You buy an iPhone because if your entire ecosystem of electronics is Apple products, why should you have to be idiotic and throw away thousands of dollars worth of products just to invest even more thousands of dollars just to buy things to replicate those same products that you decided to get away from, all because of a political stunt move, right? That's what these things are political stunt moves. Behind the scenes, we really don't know much of like what the telltale agreement is with this whole thing of, you know, manufacturing in the US and bringing jobs back to the US and stuff like that, which, you know, we desperately need because, you know, for a future podcast, I'm going to talk to you guys about how AI is really destroying the job market. It is tech related, but I will tell you guys some of the things that goes on with jobs today, why people are having such a hard time finding jobs. Nia Dang, what's up? Hi. If I didn't say hi to you, I apologize. I was in my little rant, but hello, and I'm glad to have you here this morning. We have you rich in attitude and in personality. I love that, man. I'm gonna adopt that one day. If someone like talks to me about, like, you know, whatever, I would be like, I'm wealthy and, you know, in attitude and personality. Monetary value doesn't have to mean dollars. Yeah. For a second I was like, SS. I am like really blind. I really need my glasses, and I'm so stupid because, like, I had my glasses when I left yesterday to get dinner, you know, for the kids and everything like that. And I left my glasses in the car. So it's like looking at my screen right now, like I can kind of see the words. They're a little fuzzy, which tells me that my eyesight is getting worse. So I probably should make an appointment with the optometrist and go back and get my eyes checked and get my my scripts updated, and then probably, you know, try to find me some new glasses. I know a lot of times you guys see me on live streams, I'm not wearing my glasses. I don't know why. I guess it makes it easier for me. I told you guys I have stage fright, right? Like, I know it sounds so weird that I could be on a podcast and talk to you guys openly like this, but I do get nervous. And I think, you know, with the fuzziness of my sight, it makes it easy for me to be on here and talk to you guys because things are kind of a blur. So it's like, you know, I'm not really focusing on that there's a camera pointed my way. Well, actually, my smartphone. I use my smartphone as my webcam. So if you guys want to know what my webcam is right now, it's my Pixel 8a. That's what I'm using as my webcam. But anyways, yeah, I'm not getting bashful or any of that type of stuff. I kind of am right now because I'm talking about it. But, like, you know, when I'm in my zone, I'm not focused on that. And I think, you know, the lack of eyewear helps. But when I put my glasses on, and yeah, I mean, just look at my past live streams, find one where I'm wearing my glasses and just look at my expressions and how I'm acting, and then look at one when I'm not wearing my glasses. You'll see I'm more comfortable without my glasses because everything's a fuzz to me, that I'm just literally in my brain thinking about what I'm going to say and saying what I'm going to say. You know, and the Twist and Tap channel is back in full effect too. So, you know, those who are wrestling fans, subscribe to the DLP, which is like the main area that, you know, I go on to talk wrestling. But I also have my side gig, which is like my palate cleanser away from tech, and that's in the form of talking wrestling. The new Twist and Tap channel, because the old one that I had on a different Google account, I stupidly deleted the Gmail, so that that channel I have no access to anymore. So stupid. Man, we were so close. Only 5 away from 100, man. I'm so excited. I can't wait to hit that. So you guys probably wonder why I went live earlier than usual, right? It's like 8:17 a.m. my time. And I've been on this live for about almost an hour. It's like 49 minutes. And the reason is because the rest of the day I will be unavailable. I'll be unavailable because today my youngest daughter is officially a teenager. She is 13 years old. I am old as fuck. I am old as dirt now. My kids are like already in their teens. Like, my youngest son is 10. So I only have 8 more years left with him before he's a grown adult. My youngest daughter, I only have 5 more years left with her before she's officially an adult. And my oldest daughter, I only have 3 years left until she's officially an adult. I am old as dirt. Okay? My social security number should be 1. Honestly. So today, I know my youngest daughter, she likes to play Pokemon Go. So she doesn't like toys or any of that type of stuff. So literally, you know, today she's gonna get some credits added on to her Pokemon Go so she can upgrade, you know, her storage, her item bag, so she can buy additional things that she needs. Because I know, like, right now there's a certain task in Pokemon Go that if you know, rank up to rank 100, the gift for reaching the rank of 100 is Moltres, right? Last month it was Zapdos. The month before that it was Articuno, which I have Articuno and Zapdos. They come with a special background when you get them. So I have both of those. So I need to rank up to 100 to get Moltres. So of course I'm going to be playing quite a bit. Grandpa, don't say that. I am not ready for my daughters to have kids at all whatsoever. Like I'm not. And I've already had that talk with them, and you know, nothing wrong with having kids in the future, and you know, the whole stuff. I mean, they're going to be interested in guys. Hormones are raging, of course, you know. So I've already explained to them, like, if you give in to your boyfriend and you decide he's the one that you're going to give your virtue to, I always tell him, like, make sure he wears something. Tell your mom, let her know. Don't let us guess and be surprised if you know, if your virtue is gone. Because I want to make sure that you guys do not, you know, get pregnant at a young age, because they will take care of their child if they happen to, and they'll still go to school, and they'll have to get a job. They're gonna, like, yeah, life's gonna be tough for them. Like, I want my daughters to experience life and have fun. I want them to, you know, make friends and travel and see things. I'm not too keen on the traveling thing, but I can't keep them boxed up where they don't experience the world, or they'll never understand the world. So it's always scary. You know, my heart pounds when I think about it, like them going to France or them going to England, you know, to like backpack or something. Like, I'm always scared that something's going to happen. But, you know, if I keep them cornered in by four walls, they'll never know how to understand the world, and they'll never get a leg up out there. And I'm only going to, you know, hinder their chances of becoming successful in life, however they choose to, you know. So, yeah, I'm not ready to be a grandpa. And I made that clear to them, and I made that clear of all the things that would happen. And yeah, so hopefully they heed my words, and, you know, because they're doing good in school. Like, my oldest daughter, she, you know, it's her first year in high school. She's a freshman. Her electives is Spanish 1 and dance. She's taking dance. Her school has dance like ballet. And they do other types of dances too. Like, right now, she's so nervous because her assignment over the weekend is to choreograph her own invented dance, and then they have to present it to the class on Monday. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, like, I can only understand how nervous she's going to be. I can't dance for shit. I got 2 left feet. And if I had a teacher say, hey, your assignment is you got to come up with a really cool dance move, the best thing I got is the candlestick, because I'm going to freeze and stand still like a candlestick. I got nothing. And I remember being put on the spot like that in 6th grade. My music teacher, he was teaching us the song from The Lion King, and we were going to sing that at an assembly. But one day we came into class, and he likes to have fun. So he's all like, yeah, you know, today, you know, we're going to play a song, and I just want you guys to just do a quick dance for like 2-3 minutes, just dance and have fun. And I was so nervous because I didn't know how to dance. And you had guys doing breakdance moves. You had, you know, just, you know, people that were able to just kind of like, you know, go and basically cut loose. And I was frozen in fear. So I am not free today at all. I am not free at all today. Today's my daughter's birthday. Like, we're celebrating all day. So I won't have any time. That's why I did this early in the morning. But anyways, yeah, so we've come close to the hour mark. I'm going to let you guys go to enjoy the rest of your day. And you guys, those that catch the replay, made it this far, #replay crew, and comment below. Does it really bother you what political person is involved with a smartphone manufacturer that you like? Like, does it affect your decision to just remain buying those products because that's what fits your lifestyle, that's what you like? Or are you going to just abandon them and completely reinvest and rebuild your tech ecosystem based off just a business like that? You guys let me know in the comments. Let me know. Keep it clean though. I don't need to hear anything about, you know, Donald Trump is the R word or any of that stuff, because I don't really care for politics to discuss that. And yeah, this is probably like the closest I've gotten to politics. But until then, honestly, I will talk to you guys later. And if you guys want, give a shout out, happy birthday to my daughter, Nevaeh. in the comments. I'll show it to her later. But yeah, till then, I'll talk to you guys later.